Okay, so we hear so much about antibiotic resistance, and yeah, it's a huge deal. But what if the problem isn't just resistance? What if it's like a totally different kind of bug? One that our usual antibiotics, well, they don't even work against. Today, we're doing a deep dive into fungal infections. And the big question, why can't we just use our standard antibiotics on them?
That really is the central question, isn't it? Welcome to the deep dive. Yeah, we're going to unpack why fungi are such tricky opponents, who's actually most at risk, and maybe most importantly, how the specific antifungal drugs we do have manage to work.
Right, because they seem so common, these fungi, but they pose this unique challenge. So let's get into it. What's their secret?
Exactly. It all comes down to fundamental differences at the cellular level. Think about it like this. You've got a special key for a high security vault, right? But you show up with your regular house key, it just won't work. That's basically antibiotics versus fungi. It's not a small difference, it's biologically fundamental. It changes everything for treatment.
Okay, incompatible tools. Makes sense. So walk us through that core difference. What makes them so distinct?
Well, unlike bacteria, fungi have this really rigid cell wall. It's made mostly of something called chitin. You find that in insect exoskeletons too, and various polysaccharides, think complex sugars making a tough outer layer. And then, maybe even more critically, their cell membrane contains this unique fatty compound, a sterol called ergosterol. It's sort of their version of our cholesterol, but crucially, it's different.
I see. Chitin walls, ergosterol membranes. So the antibiotics we use, they're built to target bacterial parts, maybe the cell wall components they have, certain proteins, and fungi just don't have those same parts. And I guess the reverse is true too.
Absolutely spot on. Antifungal drugs don't do a thing against bacteria for the exact same reason. They're designed very specifically to mess with those unique fungal bits, the chitin, the ergosterol. If the drug's target isn't there, it just floats on by, nothing to grab onto, nothing to disrupt.
It's pretty amazing how that basic cell biology dictates the whole treatment strategy. Okay, so if our usual meds are out, who are these fungi actually causing problems for? Because we're not just talking athlete's foot here, are we?
Definitely not. I mean, yes, those common skin things, yeast infections, they're familiar. But the really serious systemic infections, they tend to hit specific groups. And what's really striking is the pattern, it's almost always linked to a person's immune status.
Right, so it's about vulnerability, tied directly to how well your immune system is working. Interesting. Are there groups, maybe less obvious ones than, say, transplant patients, that we should be aware of?
That's a really good question. So, yes, we definitely see high risk in people with advanced HIV or those on strong immunosuppressants after an organ transplant. Makes sense, right? Their immune system is deliberately lowered. Same for patients getting intensive chemotherapy, their immunity takes a temporary hit. Suddenly, a fungus that's normally harmless in the environment becomes a serious threat. And importantly, we're seeing more issues in the growing population of older adults. Just as a natural part of aging, immune function can decline. This means less protection against fungi that younger, healthy people fight off easily.
That point about older adults is really significant. It shows how widespread this challenge could become, especially with changing demographics. Okay, so we have these unique cells, these vulnerable groups. How do the specialized antifungal drugs actually work? They must be pretty targeted.
They are, and that's where the science gets really clever. They zero in on those unique fungal parts we talked about.
Yeah.
Take the azole antifungals, for example. They're pretty common, used for all sorts of fungal issues, systemic and topical.
Azoles, right. And what's their trick? How do they stop the fungus?
Okay, so azoles work by blocking the production of ergosterol, that unique sterol in the fungal membrane. If the fungus can't make ergosterol properly, it can't build or maintain its cell membrane correctly. The integrity is shot. Depending on the specific azole and the dose, this can either kill the fungal cell outright or just stop it from growing and reproducing. Basically, messes up its foundation.
Got it. So they stop the fungus from building its protective membrane layer. But what about that tough outer wall you mentioned, the chitin one? Is there anything that goes after that?
Yes, absolutely. And that brings us to another important class, the echinocandins. Their mechanism is, well, really elegant. They specifically inhibit an enzyme needed to make something called glucan. Glucan is a vital building block for the fungal cell wall. So if you can't make glucan properly, the cell wall becomes weak, unstable, and the fungal cell basically falls apart and dies.
Wow, okay, so that's like attacking the fungus's armor plating directly, very targeted. Are these used for the really bad infections then?
Generally, yes. Echinocardins are usually given intravenously, often for serious invasive fungal infections deep inside the body. But like any potent drug, they aren't without risks. Potential liver toxicity is one concern, hepatic toxicity. And sometimes people can have pretty severe allergic type reactions, hypersensitivity. They can also, in some cases, affect bone marrow, which impacts your blood cell counts, so you need careful monitoring.
Right. Sounds like a powerful tool, but definitely one you use carefully, especially in patients who are already sick. Are there other major antifungal types we should know about?
Oh, yes. A really important one, especially for severe systemic infections, is amphotericin B. It's in a class called the polynes.
Amphotericin B. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that one. Sounds serious. How does it work compared to the others? Does it also block synthesis or attack the wall?
It also goes after the cell membrane, like the azoles, but in a totally different way. It binds directly to the ergosterol that's already there. And instead of just stopping more from being made, it kind of wedges itself into the membrane and forms pores or channels. Think of it literally like punching holes through the fungus's skin. All the important stuff inside leaks out, kills the cell very directly.
Wow, punching holes. That
Feels,
sounds
yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah.
I bet that comes with some significant side effects for the patient.
It certainly can, yes. It's quite common for patients getting amphotericin B to have infusion reactions, things like flushing, fever, chills, bad headache, nausea, vomiting, usually starts an hour or two after the infusion begins. And at higher doses, or with prolonged use, you worry about more serious things like kidney damage, nephrotoxicity, and dangerous shifts in electrolytes like low potassium or magnesium, which can affect the heart. So often patients are pre-medicated with things like acetaminophen or antihistamines just to try and lessen those immediate reactions.
Okay, so definitely effective for the tough cases, but requires very careful management because it can hit the body hard. And then, just quickly, for the more common surface level stuff like skin infections, that's where topicals come in.
Exactly. For those mycoses, fungal infections of the skin, nails, mucous membranes like the mouth or vagina, things like ringworm, athlete's foot, oral thrush, topical antifungals are usually the way to go. Their action is often similar in principle, like altering the cell membrane permeability, stopping replication, leading to fungal death. But the key difference is they aren't really absorbed into the bloodstream much, if at all. So the side effects are usually just local stuff, like a bit of stinging or irritation where you apply it. Much safer for those less serious infections.
This has been fascinating. It really drives home why fungal infections are such a distinct challenge. It's not just about finding any drug. It's about understanding this very specific, unique biology.
Precisely. And hopefully this deep dive leaves you with a real appreciation for just how targeted antifungal drug development has to be. It's not simply kill the bug. It's about exploiting those unique biological features and always balancing that with patient safety, potential side effects, drug interactions. It's complex.
Yeah, we've gone from the basic cell structure, the chitin wall, the ergosterol, which explains why they're so resistant to normal antibiotics,
Great.
to understanding who's most vulnerable, often people with weakened immunity, and finally looking at how these different drug classes work their magic.
Right, whether it's punching holes in the membrane like amphotericin B, stopping membrane building like the azoles, or attacking the cell wall like the echinocandins, each strategy is pretty ingenious, really, a specific tool for a specific job.
So thinking ahead, what's the big picture? We know more people are becoming vulnerable, the aging population, more patients getting intensive treatments. What kind of challenges or maybe even innovations do you see coming down the pike in this fight against fungi?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? How can we take our ever-deepening understanding of fungal biology, their genetics, their metabolism, their weaknesses, and translate that into even better therapies, maybe drugs that are even more targeted or safer? It's a really active area of research. Our ability to stay ahead of these often overlooked microbes really depends on continuing to explore their world. Food for thought, definitely.